No one really cares about second place. And to the champion goes all of the glory. If you win on Sunday, you sell on Monday. This is the mantra that entire brands have been built upon. Lotus, Ferrari, McLaren, even Ford revitalized its entire image by smacking down the prancing horse with the GT40. Mazda became the pride of Japan when its 787B screamed across the finish line of Le Mans. And in the early 90s, you bought a Skyline GT-R because it didn't freaking lose. Today, the R32 GT-R is a balanced, fun little sports car, capable, understated, and full of potential. In the 1990s, it was unstoppable. In racing form, the R32 GT-R obliterated anything it faced. Its performance was so dominating, so monolithic, that it sent everyone back to the drawing board. It changed the rules. The third-generation GT-R saved a struggling Japanese company and catapulted them into one of the most respected names in the sports car universe. All thanks to a top-secret project known only as 901, Nissan created a monster. Its name was Godzilla, and this is how it was born. Look, I'm not going to start at the beginning. You've already heard that story. There was a war crime, there was a merger, then came the Skylines, then there were GTRs, and then there wasn't anything for a while. No. Today, our story begins in 1984. You see, Nissan was struggling. They were floundering. They couldn't sell cars and they couldn't win races. The Nissan Z had become bloated and boring. The Skyline hadn't been worthy of the GT-R badge in a decade. The gas crisis of the 70s had changed Nissan, and not for the better. Enter Yutaka Kumi.
Taking over as president of Nissan Motors in 1985, I took the company by storm. You see, Nissan was buried in bureaucracy. I directed my people to remember the customers, to stop making boxy, boring cars, and I planned to lead with what is known as a spirit of hunger.
Most companies in dire situations go the easy route. They start cutting costs, they build more mass appeal cars, and usually they get out of costly enterprises like racing. But Kume wanted Nissan to double down. He knew that for Nissan to be truly successful, they needed to raise their reputation on the world stage. And there's no better way to do that than to win. This is the moment that changes Nissan's history forever. You see, in 1984, Nissan's performance division Nismo was born. It was a pretty good year.
Yasuharu Namba is given the task of leading Nissan's new performance division, had been driving and testing Nissan race cars since 1958, and under my guidance, Nismo entered touring car racing in 1985 with a serious intent to win. Our target was the All Japan Touring Car Championship. Despite its name, it was actually a global competition that took place in Japan, so Ford, BMW, Ferrari, Porsche all came to compete with Japan's best, and for a long time Nissan was Japan's best. Nissan dominated the series with the C10 GT-R back in the 60s, and in the 70s we fought hard against Porsche.
And so the stage was set for a new era of dominance. BMW and Ferrari in Group A championing the insane super silhouette Skyline, and then in 1985 the series was reborn with Group A. Group A, for those that are uninformed, is related to Group B. The FIA organization has specific classes or groups for racing cars. Group B was the more unlimited class, and Group A had tighter restrictions. They were cars that closely resembled the ones consumers could buy from dealerships. They had limited modifications, factory body panels, which means that they were a far more effective sales tool for Nissan. If racing fans could see a car that they could actually buy winning races, and it was defeating global superpowers like Ford and BMW, they would sell those cars. That is, if they could win. And you see, that was the problem at the time.
The GT-R name was all but a distant memory for Nissan. The Nissan DR30 Skyline had been successful in the Group 5 racing series, but Group A meant it had to come in largely stock form. So, gone were all the wild aero parts, and the DR30 could not keep pace.
In the 1985 season, it struggled to compete with the BMW 6 Series, Honda Civic Si, the Turbo Volvos, and even the Levin Corollas. Then in 1986, Nissan debuted the R31, the first RB-powered Skyline. It was boxy, it wasn't very inspiring, and today it's pretty much all but forgotten. But it did take home the top spot in its very first race of the JTCC, and thanks to some weird scoring structures in the series, it won the overall championship in 1986.
The team at Nissan started to feel the electricity of victory, but that moment was short-lived. As the years went on, the series gained popularity and competition heated up. More international manufacturers started joining the fray.
The E30 BMW M3 was released upon the tracks of Japan. Ford fielded the Sierra and began to win races. The podiums of this Japanese championship began to be almost completely dominated by foreigners. Nissan's grasp on the top spot began to weaken. Japan, as a whole, started to take a back seat in its own championship. To truly dominate Group A, Nissan knew they needed a new car, and for that, the 901 movement needed to show the world what Nissan was truly capable of. Thanks to the efforts of the 901 project and Coombs' leadership, mid-80s Nissan was a technology powerhouse. It culminated with the reveal of the Nissan Mid-4, Nissan's ambitious take on the word supercar, a mid-engined, wedge-shaped sports car that might make some fans of the NSX question if maybe Honda copied some of their homework off of Nissan in the 80s. While it is a crime against humanity that the Mid-4 and the Mid-4 II never made it into production as a result of its development, Nissan had a proper all-wheel drive system to implement into its new Halo car. They even had a revolutionary four-wheel steering system. And thanks to Coombs' devotion to catapulting Nissan to the upper echelons, they had the vision they needed to not just make another Skyline but to bring back a legend. All of the pieces were in place. Coombs and Nissan had decided that now was the time to revive the sacred GT-R badge. It had been 15 years since the silver and red letters had graced the Skyline, and with Group A as the target for the next generation Skyline, from the outset, Nissan knew exactly what they needed to build. They developed the RB platform into a 2.6-liter inline-six. It was a monster of a power plant, spinning 2 turbos and now putting around 320 horsepower from the factory, and soaring to more like 600 or 800 horsepower on the racetrack. And based on the Group A class rules, they knew that the 2.6-liter engine was the biggest engine they could fit into their class, and weight was always in mind from the outset. Nowhere was that more apparent than in the interior. It was Spartan, it was simple, it's well designed, but sitting on those cloth seats and holding a pedestrian steering wheel, you'd never think this was a Halo car. But the R32 GT-R was strictly business. Its body design was simple aerodynamically. It was an improvement over the boxy Skylines of the 80s, and they had made panels out of aluminum to stay within the Group A weight target, but visually, it was still a modest car in all regards. Only a small wing and a couple of ducts let you know that this was a performance piece. But underneath that modest outward appearance, spinning beneath the muted gray carpets, laid the secret weapon that was the key to the success. Nissan's engineering team had been paying attention to what was going on in the world of sports cars. To them, Porsche had built the best handling cars on the market, and their 959 was the most advanced road car ever built, so they bought one and tore it to shreds. What they found underneath was the secret to its success, its all-wheel drive system. Look, all great art is stolen in some way. If you're not taking cues from the competition, you're not going to win. So Nissan did exactly that. They employed a similar electro-hydraulic clutch to distribute power, but unlike the 959, which always sends power to the front wheels, giving it too much understeer for Nissan's tastes, the GT-R's all-wheel drive system would only engage the front wheels when the rear wheels lost traction. It utilized computers and G-force sensors to deliver power exactly where and when it was needed. The result was supreme power delivery to the rear wheels, rocketing the GT-R down a front straight and giving the car more oversteer, better driving behavior in turns, but delivering unparalleled grip in any situation. It was the best of both worlds. While the RB26 gets all the glory today, it really was this ATTESA system that made the GT-R special. But not even Nissan themselves could have predicted how this combination of power, technology, and low weight would dominate. In 1990, a GT-R pulled up to the start line on a racetrack in Japan. Its competitors are staring at its 4 round red brake lights, and for years that's all they ever see of it. For years in Group A, in every race, the GT-R crossed the finish line first, leaving the best of Ford, Honda, and Toyota in the dust. Not just taking the top spot, but typically filling the entire podium for the 29 races from 1990 to 1993 in Group A. Driving an R32 was practically cheating. The results cemented Nissan as the performance car king of Japan. It fought off the foreign adversaries that had been making a mockery of them on their home turf. It rebuilt the honor of Japanese motorsport. But it wasn't just Group A. In 1991, it took home the trophy in the Spa 24-hour race. It dominated the Bathurst 1000 in 91 and 92. It went on to champion Group N racing as well. In 1989, Best Motoring set a Nürburgring lap record of 8 minutes and 22 seconds. Thanks for tuning in to the story of the legendary GT-R R32, the true Godzilla of the track. If you enjoyed this deep dive into automotive history, be sure to check out our other videos for more epic stories. Don't forget to subscribe for fresh content on the cars that change the game. Leave a comment with your favorite GT-R moment. Give this video a like if you're a fan of automotive legends, and stay tuned for more incredible rides. Until next time, drive safe, stay passionate, and keep chasing speed. See you in the next one.